My people, it is time for us to go over the Weird Champions League. That's what I'm just going to take to calling it. It's the Weird Champions League. And the first round of matches has been played. So I'm going to attempt to help you keep track of the storylines and what is happening in the Champions League, kind of one team at a time, because there are no groups to look up anymore. It started on Tuesday with Juventus PSV and Young Boys against Aston Villa. That'd be, right up here. Juventus was able to hold serve, which is basically what you got to do in your home matches, right? You're going to get 4 home matches. If you're a team like Juventus, you probably want to be winning all 4 of them. And they were able to win 3-1. Then Aston Villa was able to go on the road to Switzerland and win 3-0. This is a really horrible draw for Young Boys, because Aston Villa was actually sitting in pot 4. Aston Villa is technically in the easiest pot of teams. For as an example, Young Boys could have drawn friggin' Slovan Bratislava, right, as their pot 4 opponent, but they didn't. They drew Aston Villa, right? And anytime you're getting a team that finished 4th in the Premier League, it's a shit draw if you're getting that team out of pot 4. This is the home pot 4 match for Young Boys. The easy, alleged, not actually, but on the actual scheduling side of things, this is the easiest match that Young Boys is going to have in the entirety of the Champions League. So, not great, is it? No, not great. If you're a Young Boys fan, then you're fucked. Liverpool 3, AC Milan 1. This is a great result for Liverpool. AC Milan's had a pretty disappointing season. I was believing in the Pulisic hype. He scored in the 3rd minute. He kind of started things off super well, but Liverpool just leaned on him. Kind of dominated the match from that point on. AC Milan fans have got to be frustrated. They feel like a completely second-rate club right now in terms of their ability to compete with the real power teams like Liverpool, right? We know that Italian football's kind of been in a bad spot for a while. But I mean, if you take a look at the stats from this match, 2.64 XG to 0.6, right? And the AC Milan was toothless after Christian Pulisic's goal. And to be honest, Pulisic's goal was a real tight-angled shot, right, that he managed to make work. It was not a great situation. But maybe my favorite match from this opening day was this one. You see the score, 9-2. Okay, Bayern Munich scored more goals in the Champions League match, like post-qualifying Champions League match, than any other club in history. 8 was obviously the previous record, hello Bayern, and 9 is now the record. And you can tell how we got there because the first half started with a disallowed goal and then 3 goals for Bayern Munich. But that is not the entire story of this match, because Dinamo Zagreb woke up and scored 2 goals in 1 minute to make it 3-2. At this point, I think I was playing Planet Zoo on stream at the time. Who knows what I was doing? Probably building a sick habitat because I'm an awesome gamer, but that's not the point. I was freaking out when I saw this, right? Because when you see 2 goals in a minute from a team that is down 3, that something very weird is happening, right? Something very weird has already happened, right? That just does not happen a lot, especially considering Dinamo Zagreb's playing at Bayern Munich here, right? That there was no hope, no reason to even keep the score up from this game, and it turned into 3-2. Then, obviously, as you can tell from the score, it turned into a lot more than that. Dinamo Zagreb kind of melted away. Harry Kane had a hat trick, and then another one. He had a hat trick of penalties. He had 4 goals on the night. Michael Elise had a couple of goals, but it was a complete disaster for Dinamo Zagreb. If you watch the last couple of goals, you're just like, I don't know if they were really trying that hard, which is always a terrible thing to say when you're talking about professional athletes and a professional team. But Bayern Munich absolutely flambéed Dinamo Zagreb. And look, I was very harsh on Vincent Kompany. I didn't think he had the credentials to get the job at all, but at the very least, he can manage Bayern Munich against Dinamo Zagreb because he got those boys turned around. Sporting against Lille, this was very straightforward. The old duel between the French and the Portuguese league to figure out who is actually the 5th best league in the world. And it's looking like, maybe Portugal right now, because Sporting was kind of in control of this game. The red card for Lille obviously helped that. It was in the 40th minute, but they already had the lead before that with Gyökeres, who, by the way, one of the best strikers in the world right now, and I can't wait to see where he ends up in the transfer window. And his celebration, are you kidding me? I can't do it because I'm holding the... Hold on. That is so sick. That is such a cool celebration. And that gives you like 10 bonus points in the transfer market. But Real Madrid pulled off their usual bullshit. I'm going to be honest. It was a 0-0 first half. kind of, chaotic. Stuttgart holding its own. Lots of XG in that first half and no goals. And then they scored immediately out of the half with Kylian Mbappe. Of course, Stuttgart's able to tie it. But even when they tied it, I said this on stream, even when Stuttgart tied it, I was like, Real Madrid's going to score in the 90th minute. Sorry, they scored in the 83rd. They scored in the 83rd minute to take a 2-1 lead. Now, Stuttgart, for those that weren't paying attention, finished ahead of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga last year. They might not be a big brand name club, but this is a team with a lot of talent that plays very well together and has a very good tactical identity. And their manager stayed. He did not leave. And so this is a team that has continuity and quality. And if Bayer Leverkusen didn't pull off the first unbeaten season in Bundesliga history, Stuttgart would have been the main attraction. So it's not super alarming for Real Madrid to be pushed by them at all. That's a match that Real Madrid would have circled as one of the toughest matches that they had to play. And one of the absolute snoozers of the round, Bologna and Shakhtar Donetsk played to a 0-0 draw. And I say snoozers just because it was one of those matches where it was two teams that are probably going to be battling to be in the top 24, right? I don't think either of these teams are a contender for top 8, and it wouldn't be weird if both of these teams failed to make it out of the league stage entirely. Shakhtar Donetsk did miss a penalty, and the XG was in favor of Bologna, who was the home team, so maybe Donetsk a little fortunate to escape. Then we get into the weird stuff on the Wednesday, because Sparta Prague brought the hammer. Okay, I've made a couple videos about the way the Champions League was set up this year and about how it was supposed to work and what teams were going to be good and what teams weren't going to be good, all that sort of stuff. One of my examples for teams that you would want to draw out of pot 4 was like Slovan Bratislava and Sparta Prague is the sorts of teams where you're like, yes, we draw that. That's probably an easy win. Salzburg's a team that can reasonably expect to be in the top 24. They will set the goal of making that last 16, getting out of that playoff round, and it wouldn't be the biggest shock of all time if they finish top 8 in the table, right? They have rotted a little bit since the days of Holland or Aronson, right? But they have, I slipped Aronson in there. Hey, he was great. I watched that man score in a Champions League knockout game playing for Salzburg. I don't want to hear that, he's just a little skinny. Okay, he'll be there. The Americans will be there. Right, Salzburg did not win the Austrian league last year. They managed to get into the league stage, the league group stage anyways. I figured that was just a blip in the radar. Maybe it was more than that. That or Sparta Prague might have put together a very good team, because obviously this finished 3-0. Horribly disappointing result for Salzburg, who's not, on paper at least, going to have many easier matches than this. The alarm bells are ringing. There's 7 matches left for Salzburg. They can get a few results. They'll be fine. But this is a team that does not expect to go out in the league stage at all. And that would be a big surprise, and Red Bull would probably be cracking skulls if that actually came to pass. But Sparta Prague has now introduced itself as a contender for a top 24 spot in the league stage. Now, the other team I use as an example of the teams that are, the types of teams you want to draw was Slovan Bratislava. I've said them multiple times. And Celtic played like they were playing against one of those teams. Okay, they beat them 5-1, which is a resounding win for Celtic. And it is also a reason that a bunch of Celtic fans are incredibly happy on social media right now and praising the new Champions League format because they got to beat up on Slovan Bratislava in the opening match. But look, this is supposed to be the easiest match for Celtic in the entirety, of this league stage, and they made it look like it. I don't know if you can take too much from that other than Slovan Bratislava is probably cooked, but that is the result that Celtic's supposed to get, and the team that Ange built definitely has a chance to get into the last 24 because they've at least padded their goal difference. Borussia Dortmund was able to get a win at Club Brugge. This is a match that they should be winning. I'm not really going to waste too much of your time talking about it, but Jamie Bino Gittens, the next English wonder kid at Borussia Dortmund, who, if you play Football Manager, you've seen coming for a little while, he did score 2 goals in this match, so check that one out. I don't know why Borussia Dortmund's better at developing English players than most clubs in England, but I feel like a scientific study 20 years from now will kind of get into that. Then PSG was able to beat Girona in a matchup of oil clubs. 90th minute own goal was the only difference here. Girona, if you're not familiar, was one of the clubs in the running for the La Liga title going into the last couple matches of the season. They kind of fallen off a little bit by that point. But they had a fabulous season and were running with Real Madrid and Barcelona for a while. I'm part of the City group, which is a little awkward. I mean, they are and they aren't. I think City owns like 47% of the club. They are spiritually and financially part of the City group. And so PSG, again, same as Real Madrid beating Stuttgart, Girona is not the brand name, that you would expect to be able to give PSG a game, but the fact that PSG squeaked this result out is not a huge surprise. Girona is good enough to do that, and PSG will be happy to just get out of there with a win. And then there's Manchester City and Inter. Very interesting draw at home for Manchester City. I know I caught some of the highlights of this game. There was a pretty obvious chance towards the end for Ilkay Gundogan with a header. I know that's not typically like his A-plus part of his game, and he kind of skied it a bit, but they did dominate in XG. It's not like Man City's washed. They had over 2 XG, but they couldn't put any of their 23 shots in the back of the net. And Erling Haaland's struggles against Inter, I mean, pretty well documented at this point. I feel like they need to... more coaches need to study what Inter is doing to slow down that bionic human being. But Man City and Inter are both probably fine. These are two this was a pot 1 match in the opening match day. These two teams are going to have a lot easier matches coming up. Interesting match. We moved to Thursday, the final kind of round of matches in the Champions League. Yes, we still are match day 1 here. That's what we're going over. Benfica was able to beat Red Star. This is a very difficult, annoying road match to have drawn, so this is a great result for Benfica because the atmosphere, it's very hard to play in Serbia at Partizan, Red Star. Those places are very, very difficult to play. They're very loud. Animosity's off the charts. Benfica was able to settle that down with 2 early goals and kind of hold on to it. This is a match that Benfica definitely needs 3 points in if they want to think about maybe getting top 8. Bayer Leverkusen had a get-right match at Feyenoord. It was not a great showing from the Dutch teams that made it to the league stage with PSV and Feyenoord not really putting up much of a fight against opponents they would have wanted to put up a fight against. All of Leverkusen's goals, including 2 for Florian Wirtz, coming in the first half. So this match was super turbo over and one that I didn't even really track going into the second half. Atalanta and RB Leipzig was one of the matches of the day. Of course, Leipzig is this weird... They're a team that is in pot 1, actually, so this is a big showdown. It is also the second hardest match that'll be on Atletico Madrid's schedule the whole time, according to the scheduling, because you'll have a road match against a pot 1 team, but this is their home match against a pot 1 team. And RB Leipzig took the lead. Ben Šeško scored in the 4th minute, so that starlet of a striker is still clicking. But then Griezmann, and then they loaded it up in the 90th minute with Jose Maria Jimenez. I feel like Jose Jimenez, the Uruguayan center back, only scores after the 90th minute. He did that at a World Cup as well. He's not some sort of prolific goal scorer on corners. He just shows up in the 90th minute to be able to win you matches. This was definitely one of the more fun. This was probably the most fun match day overall, because then you had Stade Brestois, the French team, against Sturm Graz. And Sturm Graz is the team that finished ahead of Salzburg in the Austrian league, I believe, of last year. And so they are the reigning champions of Austria. They took it to halftime 1-1. They went down 2-1. The red card was really late, so it wasn't really a part of most of the match. But this is one of those matches that I'll describe as like a double bubble. This is a double bubble match, right? If you can win a match, like Sturm Graz is the champion of Austria, will believe it has a chance to get in that 24. Stade Brestois also will believe and be disappointed that if it doesn't get into the top 24. And so being able to win a match against another team like that is huge, and Stade Brestois did deserve the win. They dominated the XG, they dominated in the shots on target, all the good stuff, all the juicy deets. Stade Brestois was able to manage. Then there was Monaco and Barcelona. This was colored very early by an Eric Garcia red card. 11th minute. And I give Barcelona a lot of credit for being able to hang around, but when you see the initial scoreline, Monaco 2, Barcelona 1, you think there's going to be a lot more to take away from that match than there actually was. Monaco was able to squeak this. Maybe the biggest takeaway from the match was the fact that Michael Jordan was in attendance for some reason. I guess he's busy not making documentaries anymore, and so he had a little more free time on his hands. But yeah, Monaco they would have been very disappointed if they didn't win this match at home. 11th minute red card for the other team. But also a very important result for Monaco. Another one of those teams that totally could they could find themselves in that top 8 if things go their way and they can get a couple results. This is one of the toughest matches. Did the sun change or something? What the hell's going on? We'll do this. This is one of those matches that is going to be one of the toughest ones that they're going to have to play, and so to be able to get 3 points from that, as long as they can hold serve, as a manner of speaking, they're going to be able to push for that top 8 finish. And then there was Atalanta Arsenal. Atalanta is a perpetually slept-on team. They're the Europa League champions, and they are just really sound. Tactically, squad-wise, club-wise. They build their teams well. They build them responsibly. They trust player development. It's a very good club at Atalanta, and this is not an easy match for Arsenal, and they probably should have lost. If it wasn't for David Raya making, I don't think I could show it to you here, but making an absolutely insane double save off a penalty. He dives to his right. He went really early. I don't know what the penalty taker was doing, but David Raya telegraphed where he was going 10 hours before the shot was taken, and the guy took it that direction anyways. David Raya saves it and then gets up and lunges back across the goal and stones the rebound where the guy thought he was just going to be able to tap it straight into the goal. It's an insane save. Would recommend looking it up. And that basically earns Arsenal a point. If Arsenal wants to be Manchester City, this is definitely a match that you'd want to win, right? Because that is what Arsenal wants to be, but it just doesn't quite feel like they're there yet. In terms of being able to get top 8, I still wouldn't bet against Arsenal to get that because, the vast majority of their matches from this point are going to be way easier than playing on the road against Atalanta. But that's the first round of matches. That's all 18 matches in the Champions League. And we're going to be doing this 7 more times because there's 8 matches now. Play until the players' legs fall off, I say. That's what I say.